You know, this is without a doubt the most important election of our lifetime because it might be our last, the last free election this country ever has. I don't know how it's so close, since Trump has already consistently shown us that he is an amoral, criminally corrupt incompetent who doesn't know anything and does not care about any of his supporters or the Constitution or the law, only himself and no one or nothing else. 8 years of this, and so many Americans are in his thrall and can't move on. It's mystifying to me. I don't know how anyone ever listened to the man for a minute and without realizing that one, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Two, he's fantastically stupid. Three, he's very obviously corrupt or a criminal. And four, he's lying just all the time. How is that not the immediate first impression? That's the only impression I ever got from him then, long before he started running for office. It doesn't seem to matter to his supporters what crimes Trump has committed, how he received millions of dollars from our enemies in China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and so on, even sharing our stolen secrets with some of them. It doesn't matter to his supporters how many tens of thousands of lies he's told as president, nor how many times he's been found liable for fraud or sexual misconduct. His sycophants simply don't care about any of that. Instead, they will accuse Biden or Harris of everything neither of them ever did, but that Trump really did do, or is still doing, or promises that he will do, as if it's okay when Trump does it, but it would be awful if anyone else did. It doesn't seem to matter how disastrous all of his policies were and how much worse leading economists say it will be if Trump gets another shot. Experts agree that Trump's concepts of a plan will destroy our economy and the environment and basically ruin everything for everyone, because this time there will be nothing or no one to stop him. Back in 2016, Trump supporters told me that I should vote for Trump because he can't really do any of the awful things he was threatening to do at that time, as if that's a reason to vote for someone. It's also an admission that they knew he proposed to do terrible things, and that's not a deal breaker, because people at that time were saying, well, just burn it down. We either want to preserve our country, we either want to fix what's wrong in our great nation, or we just want to destroy everything. And this year, they're telling me that I should vote for him because he won't really do any of the terrible things that he says he will do if he gets elected again, as if we learned nothing from this last term. And what is most frustrating for me is that I can't get the MAGA mob to even agree on a set of common facts, because none of their data is even real. They don't care about that either, because these people think that fact-checking is bad. I can only interpret that to mean that they want to believe what may not be true, and they don't really care if it is true. And the most important thing to understand right now is what is most immediately at stake in this election. What you will lose if you elect Trump. I'm talking about your rights in the Constitution, especially the First Amendment, because Trump has already tried to undermine every single provision thereof, and he's even said that he should be allowed to change the parts that he doesn't like. Putin did exactly that with the Constitution of the Russian Federation, granting himself even more power, at which point the entire Russian government quietly resigned, leaving him as an uncontested autocrat. I don't think many Americans know about that because we don't pay attention like we should. But that is exactly what Trump and Vance want to do too. They said so, both of them. J.D. Vance actually said on video that they intend to delete the government and establish Trump as a dictator.
So almost the thing that you need to do, step one in the process, is to totally replace, like rip out like a tumor, the current American leadership class, and then reinstall some sense of American, political religion.
What other options do we have besides voting them out, which we're seeing is ineffectual?
Yeah. So again, this is like a tough question, but this is maybe the question that confronts us right now. There's this guy, Curtis Yarvin, who's written about some of these things.
And finally, you need a CEO, and a national CEO is what's called a dictator. It's the same thing. There's no difference between a CEO and a dictator. If Americans want to change their government, they're going to have to get over their dictator phobia.
Trump's despotic ambition hasn't been kept quiet. He says it out loud often enough, and the conservative right seems to be okay with that, as polls reflect that Trump leads among voters who don't really care about democracy. And isn't that frightening? Several of the MAGA mob have even said that they don't want a government of, by, and for we the people. They want a king, a monarchy. Thus, Trump is the embodiment of everything the founding fathers warned us about and tried to prevent. That's why so many prominent Republicans, including several of Trump's own staff, his former generals, and so on, now say that Trump is the greatest danger our nation has ever faced. So let's read that First Amendment and see what to expect if Trump wins.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof.
Trump has already contradicted both of these. For one thing, he has many times parroted conservative views on establishing Christianity as the state religion, and each of Trump's published plans promised to infuse Christian nationalism into our government. That's a violation of the Establishment Clause, and Trump's repeated calls to ban Muslim immigrants is a violation of the Prohibition Clause.
Or abridging the freedom of speech.
While right-wingers often crow that they're all about free speech, they don't seem to know what that means. They seem to think that free speech means that they should be provided with a venue and an audience that can be forced to hear whatever nonsense or hate speech they have to spread. No. Free speech means that you can express controversial opinions without being arrested for it. And most importantly, free speech means that you can criticize the government without fear of retaliation from those officials. And one of the symbols of free speech is that you can burn an American flag in the public square and not be arrested for that. But Trump wants to jail anyone who burns the flag. And he said recently that he should be able to use the military to handle what he called the enemy within, which he referred to as immigrants, whom he constantly dehumanizes, and especially what he called radical left lunatics, which apparently means anyone who disagrees with him, since most of the people he refers to as the radical left are neither leftists nor in any way radical.
Or abridging the freedom of the press.
To quote the ACLU, Trump has made it very clear that he doesn't stand for the freedom of the press. As a presidential candidate, he told supporters that he would open up our libel laws to sue journalists. We're going to have people sue you like you never got sued before, he promised. Trump also blacklisted reporters and entire news outlets from campaign events, referred to journalists as scum and slime, and mocked a reporter for having a disability. He vowed to sue women who reported sexual harassment or assault, along with their outlets and that covered those accounts, and he threatened a lawsuit against Hispanic journalists for calling out his bigoted remarks. I would never kill them, but I do hate them, he said of reporters, and some of them are such lying, disgusting people. End quote. To quote the United Nations High Commissioner on Human Rights, Trump's attacks are strategic, designed to undermine confidence in reporting and raise doubts about verifiable facts. The president has labeled the media as being the enemy of the American people, very dishonest or fake news, and he's accused the press of distorting democracy or spreading conspiracy theories and blind hatred. These attacks run counter to the country's obligations to respect press freedom and international human rights law. To quote Harvard Kennedy School, President Donald Trump accused the press of being an enemy of the American people. Attacks on the media have been a hallmark of Trump's presidential campaign, but this charge marked a dramatic turning point. Language like this ventured into dangerous territory. 20th century dictators, notably Stalin, Hitler, and Mao, had all denounced their critics, especially the press, as enemies of the people. Their goal was to delegitimize the work of the press as fake news and create confusion in the public mind about what's real and what isn't, what can be trusted and what can't be. All of this implies that if Trump gets elected again, we will no longer have a free press. Instead, we will have only state-controlled right-wing propaganda channels like Fox News and One America News, things like that.
Or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances.
One of the very first things Trump did as president when he was elected the first time was, apart from repealing like 100 environmental protections and such, so that industries can now legally pollute public waterways, was that Trump resumed construction of a dangerous pipeline project against the recommendations of the Army Corps of Engineers and despite heavy objections by the Sioux Nation. And this, of course, resulted in multiple oil spills polluting the only available water supply at the time. And everybody knew that was going to come. And Trump also sent in local law enforcement to clear out the protesters. And he tried to expand an existing law that would have made it illegal to protest commercial construction projects. Remember, this is the same guy who 4 years ago ordered the police to tear gas a crowd who were protesting police brutality. What do you think Trump will do if he gets to use the military to shut down every protest? Remember also that the now extreme court just might give Trump the power to do everything he always wanted to do, and give him the ability to change the Constitution however he wants. Other provisions of Project 2025 would allow that too, regardless what the Supreme Court says. So under Trump, your right to peaceably assemble to petition the government for redress of grievances will look more like the massacre at Tiananmen Square. In any other administration, there would be checks and balances against this sort of abuse of power. But Trump positioned so many minions in the now extreme court that they already ruled to let Trump do whatever he wants, even murdering his political opponents, as only a dictator would. As if we didn't learn the lesson from last time. Should we allow him to replace more justices on this second term? Because he could potentially replace 3 more. Or he could just disband the whole thing because they've given him unlimited power. So there go your rights under the First Amendment, all of them. And that's not all. The Trump Bible includes the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, but it has deliberately omitted key provisions.
Trump's Bible skips Amendments 11 through 17 from the Bill of Rights, the book that's getting ready to get put in all the Oklahoma schools. Why did Donald Trump's Bible skip Amendments 11 through 17? Well, it helps to know what they are. Amendment 11 is about courts not having the power to make decisions against people because one state sues another state. It's prohibited. So I kind of take that as Texas suing Colorado for having legalized abortion. Can't do that, according to Amendment 11. Gone. Amendment 12. Candidates can't be from the same state, the presidential candidate and the VP. Electors will vote by ballot in their own states. It's just how you vote for president, basically. But here's the important part of Amendment number 12. This is where it talks about the president of the Senate, aka the vice president, being the one that certifies elections. Gone. Amendment 13 is about the abolishment of slavery. Gone. 14 is about civil rights, that every person born in the United States is a citizen due equal rights. Gone. Number 15, black suffrage, that you can't have your right to vote taken away because of the color of your skin. Gone. 16 is about taxes. It's an amendment that attempts to address the great disparity between the rich and the poor by applying taxes according to income. Gone. And number 17, people elect senators, not legislatures. Do you guys remember the big MAGA out from Oregon and the whole group behind her? saying that people have been given too many rights to vote for senator, for House reps, that it should be legislatures that do that. Do you guys remember that video circulating? You wonder where she got it from, these ideas? These are all missing. They were deliberately removed from Donald Trump's Bible. Every single thing that's been removed from here is what allows Project 2025 to happen legally without violating the Constitution.
Some Republican pundits have already specifically called for a repeal of the 14th Amendment with the intent of reinstating slavery to some degree. And others have said on video that they don't think that women should be allowed to vote. Now, I have to specify that I'm only talking about the MAGA mob who want to take our country back to 110 years or so ago, to a time before Indigenous people or women could vote, before there were restrictions or regulations guaranteeing, good and safe housing, food, medicines, and so on, when there were no programs like Social Security or Medicaid, back to when children worked long hours in factories without schooling, because the MAGA mob wants that too, along with child marriage. They want America to suck ass again, to be the worst it's ever been. The only way to save the republic is to vote for Kamala Harris. If we win this, we can immediately begin to fix a whole lot of issues that were recently created by the MAGA mob and their minions to better defend against the next such threats from enemies foreign, but especially domestic. And I've learned that most Trumpers are not going to hear what contradicts what they want to believe about Trump. This video is instead to encourage people that have had enough of his bullshit from whatever party affiliation to go out there and vote while you still can, before he ends up being president permanently.
If you want to save America, get your friends, get your family, get everyone you know, and vote. Vote early, vote absentee, vote on election day. I don't care how, but you have to get out and vote. And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed, it'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.